So he pointed to his academic background, particularly his final paper on crime scene investigations, as a chilling connection to the crimes. But was this paper truly unique, or was it just a textbook assignment? So one that countless other criminology students have completed, and I myself have taken the very same courses as Mr. Kohberger, so I can speak on this with given knowledge whenever I address this subject. Okay, so let's start with the basics. Kohberger was studying for a PhD in criminology, okay, at Washington State University. As part of his coursework, he likely completed assignments analyzing crime scenes, forensic methods, and criminal behavior standard practice for, your criminology student. So his final paper wasn't groundbreaking. It followed textbook methodologies. Everything that I read in that final, nothing was unique. It was basically textbook, what he has learned and so forth. So I would say that was very easy for him to do that, or the assignment itself was completely asked to do that, because I've had as my final was the very exact same final. I don't know if he selected that or chose that. And he could have chose it because it was something that was easy to him. But whether or not he's guilty of the unaliving or not, I'm a biased party to all of this. So I am one that's going to give you the facts, and just be honest about it, good or bad, for the most part. And this is there's nothing unique about this, I can promise you guys. So methodologies on how to process crime scenes: you analyze evidence and you consider investigative techniques. So, in fact, if you've ever taken a criminal justice course, you've probably done something very similar to this. So students are often required to break down like real or hypothetical cases using forensic science principles. So why is Kohberger's paper being portrayed as something sinister whenever it's a common academic exercise? It's not a blueprint for murder or unaliving, none of that. So I just need to emphasize, if you have, any type of knowledge in this kind of field, you would know this is not textbook. I mean, this is not, anything unique to the Idaho 4 case. This is absolutely textbook, and it just blew my mind. They would even consider that. But I guess they think it's just an easy method of utilizing. So crime scene analysis is a fundamental part of criminology education. So what happens is professors will assign students cases to study, sometimes like even infamous unsolved murders, to teach investigative procedures. So it's about understanding law enforcement techniques, not rehearsing for a crime. So these are just things that are kind of bred into the nature of, what you're specializing in. So it's not, he's not learning, or rehearsing for a crime. If you're knowledgeable just the least little bit in this field and have been educated or taken any type of educational courses under this degree field, you will understand this is textbook. This is just something that you just learn. It's part of it. So, crime scene analysis is a fundamental part of criminology education. So just remember that they teach investigative procedures. It's about understanding law enforcement techniques. It is not rehearsing for a crime. This is where the media narrative gets murky. So some reports suggest that Kohberger's paper was an unusual deep dive into violent crime, but there's little evidence that it was anything beyond a standard academic exercise. I have had the very exact same final, and that's why I had to speak up and say, oh, no, not at all. This is not what people are assuming. No matter what his guilt is anywhere else, I know that this is not anything to do with that crime. So his alleged Anything beyond an academic exercise would be absolutely, I mean, way far stretching. So his alleged actions, however, suggest, you know, others assume that his actions suggest something far more disturbing, that he may have been applying these principles in real life. And he could apply some principles in real life, but I'm here to tell you, as someone who has had the very exact same courses as Mr. Kohberger, um, it's not, just because you're educated in that field, it doesn't mean that, this is, you're coordinating and know how to, do a crime or commit a crime. Basically, from a standpoint of somebody like myself who has, this is just something that we are literally bred into. Like, it's just something that you rehearse over and over and over in this type of field. The ethics of studying crime versus committing it is two different things. Okay, so that's where people need to draw the line and understand that the ethics of studying crime, although most people can connect it to that, because it's a very, if you really immerse yourself into it and educate yourself, it's really rewarding, and you learn a great deal, and about the criminal mind and things like that. But you have to understand that the ethics of studying a crime versus committing it are two different things. You have to learn to separate the two, that it's not the same. It is not the same. Um, text, textbook versus real world crime scenes are not the same. So that brings me to the fact that, let me address, so what does a textbook crime scene look like? Basically, it's systematic. Investigators document, collect, and analyze evidence in a structured way. So the Idaho crime scene, however, was chaotic. There was blood evidence, there were multiple victims, and what appears to be a lack of clean getaway. So this wasn't the work of someone executing a perfect crime. Based on theory, it was messy, emotional, and it was risky. So this raises a key point. If Kohberger did commit these unaliving, his criminology background didn't give him an advantage. It may have actually worked against him. So investigators quickly linked him to the crime through cell phone records, DNA evidence, and a vehicle description, not exactly a mastermind at work. Okay. Although I do think that some of the methods of whomever it was that committed this crime. So I'm not saying that he is the individual. Okay. I'm just going by, we're just talking on this topic. Okay. So the real issue is obsession versus education. So the real concern is that Kohberger studied criminology. And it's whether he was obsessed with crime in a way that blurred the line between academic interest and personal fixation, or was that just something that others did? They couldn't decipher the two. Whenever they seen that he had this criminology degree, what have you, it just kind of blended and meshed and just made everything, exist to be, this is why he committed the crimes. He's smart. Da, 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 da. That's usually the concept, but did his studies give him the knowledge to avoid getting caught? Clearly not. But did they give him the language to justify or intellectualize violent behavior? That's the question prosecutors will likely focus on. So, why this matters? Ultimately, Kohberger's coursework wasn't unique. It was standard criminology material. What's unique is the possibility that he may have used his education not for justice, but for something far darker. That is, if it were him, assuming that it is him. So, what do you think? Does studying crime make someone more likely to commit a crime, or is that just a media narrative? Basically, uh, you know, and I'm saying this from someone who's actually educated in that field and can decipher the two. It's definitely This paper is textbook. It has absolutely nothing to do with that crime. Nothing at all. So for those of you who enjoy this content, subscribe, follow, and stay tuned for more true crime analysis. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and hit the all where the bell is so that you will get all notifications whenever we go live, I post, or submit videos.
Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss an update. Go to YouTube at TRM Legal Review or search True Crime PhD. Also follow us on Patreon under True Crime PhD for exclusive content and become a member to receive loyalty rewards, including exclusive true crime merchandise every other month.